I'd like to welcome everyone back to our podcast, Unloaded. This is Michael Seahorn.
Shannon Morrow.
Well, last episode, I hit the pause button. Shannon was asking a very intricate, deep question about grieving, as our last episode is talking about my personal thing going on right now with my mom passing away last year, and her birthday was just a few days back. And at the end of the last episode, Shannon asked a question: can you put something away and just leave it forever? That's a deep question, man.
And there's no right answer.
There's not, because I in my head I just default to it's such a human to human thing.
Yep, exactly.
You know, I've heard, well, I sit here and I smile before I say this. So you can ignore things for almost your entire life. You can. I know you can. I'm giving an example. And maybe we'll unpack this at some other junction down the road. But so my real father left when I was about 2 and never really saw the dude. And he decided on his literal deathbed to tell somebody that he wanted to speak with me and to talk to me. Long story short, and that's another podcast down the road, it was too late. By the time that the circumstances all figured themselves out, it was too late. My father had passed away by the time it finally got to me. So in theory, I guess you could technically wait till the very last possible moment to unpack something. You know?
That's a very, personal example of this. Yeah.
It's, I said, there's just a lot going on, obviously, with, talking about grieving and, with my mom. But when we left that cliffhanger out there, I was just very quickly reminded, like, my dad waited to the very, very, very last hour, if you will, until it became important.
Never really got to see you, and never got really one of his last wishes to be able to communicate with you, whatever he wanted to say. It was too late at that point. But it's, again, very case by case, person by person, the circumstances. Where we met at the, through the VA at the Reno Vet Center, exclusively for combat veterans, when I was, my 4+ years, kind of more toward the beginning of this career. Clearly I worked with all veterans and a lot of their, PTSD and things, and I led a group for Vietnam vets, exclusively Vietnam vets, and I saw a lot of them individually. We had our weekly group, and in there I saw that, thick steel safe at the bottom of the ocean, and that those guys wouldn't get near. Some of the things that they went through in Vietnam, some of the things they experienced and how it affected them, they just were adamant, very decided upon, no, we were never going there. We were never talking about it. I never want to think about it again. I just want to completely, forever avoid that. And, with varying success, for some, that was kind of their necessary course. They just, nope, I am not ever going to think about that or talk about that. That's gone to me. I'm just going to forever let it be down at the bottom of the ocean. And while also we saw then a lot of, health problems, alcoholism, relationship issues. I mean, a lot of these guys, man, tough lives. A lot of things just kind of going sideways for them. A lot of struggles, a lot of distress in these other aspects of their lives. And you can't avoid something forever. You can choose. Nope. And it doesn't go away. It's sitting down there. And okay. And, it's very case by case. We don't know, But I do believe that when things are left unaddressed, when we don't process things, whether it's by choice or just by avoidance or dissociation, or when we just, it can fester down there, and it can cause some other kinds of distress that might even be seemingly unrelated. They would point at their wives or their kids, or their jobs, or whatever, their neighbors, there's a lot of tough stuff going on in a lot of their lives. And I have a lot of compassion for it. They did not want to have to dredge up those old memories, those old emotions, and it was just too uncomfortable for them. And I can't force them. It would be unethical for me to, I could gently, like, hey, maybe try to approach it, try to talk about allow for the opportunity, see if they're inching that direction. But it's, in the end, it's their decision, and you got to honor that.
Yeah. When I left the monastery, Terra Mandala in Colorado, the Lama that runs that monastery wrote another book called Feeding Your Demons. I don't recommend that book to just everybody. It's a very deep book. It's rooted in the Buddhist culture, in the Tibetan culture as well. It's a very deep book, but it talks about just exactly what Shannon is talking about. Instead of running from those demons, that you stop, you turn around, and you feed them. And it was a very interesting read to think about the hard things that we need to face, instead of running and hiding from it or stuffing it away for hopefully forever, to then stop and turn around and not just acknowledge that, but to feed it, to allow for that. And I'm not going to go into that because that's a very deep thing in the Buddhist world, if you will. But the power there, and what I took out of that is what we've talked about probably over the last, I think we're in the ballpark of 25 to 27 episodes now. That's what I do when I meditate. That's what I talk about with sitting with it, sitting with something, feeling the full of motion, not running from the emotion, not trying to stifle it in any way, shape, or form, but just to sit with that raw emotion, whatever that emotion may be, feel it deep, and then just allow yourself to just process it in a way that once you sit with it for a time, it naturally will start to dissipate.
It just needed your attention.
You have to focus on that. And that's what I was talking about in the last podcast, is because of the deep feeling that I have that I need to deal with my mom passing away, I know what that's going to be. I know what that road's going to look like. And I'm not running from it, and I'm not scared of it. I just know my own self-practice. I have to be in a place and a time that I'm comfortable so that I can sit with it for however long that take. It could be 5 seconds. It could be 5 hours. I don't know. Nobody knows. But in that time, I don't want to rush through that.
And it can take weeks, it can take
Sure.
months, it can take years. I'm
Sure.
not specifically talking about your circumstances here, but this all takes time.
Sure.
To feed the demons. Like, this isn't something you can just choose to, oh, I'm going to stop, turn around, face it, and feed it, right? No. First, you have to even recognize, wait, there's demons over there. And then, what are they? You just to gain awareness of that and maybe start to see it more clearly. And that can take some time. And then, like, do I actually want to allow for these emotions? Am I actually going to experience the awful, terrible angst of grief and mourning and loss and like, I don't know that I want to do that. I'm not sure. I don't want to turn around. No, right? And that can take a long time. And then how do you even turn to start to face this stuff? It can be a very gradual process. It's certainly not a straight line. There's progress, regress, and then, but, if committed and just on the path, and over time you start seeing it, you choose to maybe even start being with it, and then allowing for it as you describe, and then, then someday, before we really even recognize, it's just, oh, wait, whoa, I'm a little lighter. That's not coming up for me as much now. I'm not as grindy about these things, or I'm not as triggered about this or that, like, whoa, we kind of discover, holy moly, I've made some progress with this.
Yeah, and I should have predicated that, some of the things that I'm speaking of are, they are metaphoric in thought, right? It's not an actual demon that's sitting in your room, right? So I don't want to freak people out.
No, I'm talking about actual demons here, Michael.
Right? I'm not talking to exorcists.
That dude,
right?
see the horns and the little tail, and
correct. So I need to throw it out there because I don't want to confuse anybody. What I'm talking about is in the spiritual world, and demons per se can be anything. It could literally be anything. It could be like, man, I drink 5 cups of coffee every day. Doc says I should only have 2. It's my thing. I love it. I'm just going to keep drinking 5 cups every day for the rest of my life. That's your choice, man. Right? So when I say feed your demons, it's metaphorically speaking, but the demons are generally associated with things that we struggle with internally, right?
Yep.
And Shannon is correct that this is anything but a freaking straight line. This is never going to be a straight line. It's not. I know that even for myself. And when I say that you have to sit with things, or I sit with things and process things, is that, this may be, 7, 10, 20, 30 times of sitting with it over and over again, because like Shannon's saying is, certain things may take you years to get over. I don't know. I don't. It's different for everybody.
A lifetime,
right? Could be a lifetime, right?
It'll decrease.
Sure.
Maybe it won't be as frequent. Maybe not as intense.
Not as hard. It softens it up a little bit, right?
And even decades later, you just find yourself caught at a red light, and suddenly something triggers a memory, and you experience a little wave of emotion. And you're like, whoa, I haven't felt that for a while, and it can still be in there to a much less degree, if allowing for the process of, wow, I remember the year after that happened, how intense that was for me. And it's not near as intense, not near as often. And some things last a lifetime.
They do. And grief is definitely one of them, because you're never going to get rid of it 100%. Maybe you could, don't know. That's for each individual to go through. Yeah. But like Shannon said, there are always going to be reminders along the way, even small ones. But I do feel that once you sit with it for a while, and once you really try to grieve or process, or whatever the word is you want to use, when those reminders come up, I do know personally that they are a lot easier to just be like, wow, man, yeah, I miss it. I miss her, miss them, miss that person. But
there.
I'm good. And then you move on. And
it's acceptance. Okay. It is okay that I'm sad. It's okay that I miss that person. It's okay that from time to time I still get misty-eyed.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that I'm not good. I'm on my way to work. I'm going to have a very productive day. I'm fine. Because I'm also allowing for that, of course I get sad from time to time. Of course but with the practice of allowing for the discomfort of these emotions rather than cutting them off, numbing them out, running away from them, trying to bury them completely. We just have that awareness and acceptance for, those really difficult emotions, and have, frankly, increased our tolerance for them. And just it's okay. Having that acceptance for feeling the discomfort.
And I got to throw it out there too, is, this is where counselors really help, man. This is where it's important that if you can, or if you have the desire to, man, is to reach out and chat with somebody. Because like Shannon alluded to earlier, these professionals out there that deal with this mental health world, man, is, they've got some tools that we're not aware of, right? They've got training that we don't understand, that we haven't had maybe. There's a lot of power in just being able to speak to somebody that has a lot of tools in the old tool bag. Mm-hmm. I might only have a hammer, right? And if I just hammer and everything all day long, well, the hammer sometimes just becomes dull and it just becomes ineffective, right? And it's not until you start to grow in your within yourself and grow within trying to be something better, or try to produce something within you that's positive to help you along the way. When you meet people like Shannon, when you meet a mental health professional, when you meet people in this time and space, they could just hand you a screwdriver. Hey, man, try this. Whoa, shit. I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? I could have used a screwdriver instead of just beating it with a hammer. That probably would have worked better, right? And I use, again, that's metaphorically speaking, but these tools, if you've never had an opportunity to be introduced to the tools, then how do you get to find the tools? And you could blindfold me, put me in a dark room. I'll bump in every fucking wall there is, right? If I don't know where I'm at, and I don't know what I'm doing, I'm literally going to bang into everything until I figure it out. Instead of, I'd rather just take the damn blindfold off and be like, hey, man, sit down here. Let's have a conversation. And then start your journey, And I feel like, for me personally, I had a good 40 years of stumbling around in the dark. I was learning along the way, for sure. Learning a lot of things along that journey. And it wasn't until I really decided, man, I need some damn help. And when that moment came and I decided that was my new journey, it's like the floodgate open, man. Yeah. And I'm not trying to tell people this is not something that's easy. Okay? It's not easy. It is not for the weak of heart. I'm just going to be honest with you all, man, because when I opened those floodgates, it fucking flooded. Yeah. And I mean, every day was a flood for me, Yeah. And it was the psychologist, it was the psychiatrist, it was the group theories, the anger management, it was just so much. And it was like one step at a time. But those steps took months. Yeah. And those months now has turned into 12 continuous years. But I've picked up a lot of fucking tools along the way, man. Yeah. And thank the Lord for that. Thank the universe for that. Thank whatever it is you thank for that, because I definitely wouldn't be the person I am sitting here today, man. No. I know that. Yeah. And this podcast would never came into existence.
Yeah. Thank you for highlighting what a difficult journey it can be at times. Even as we have discussed in way earlier podcasts, just even recognizing for ourselves, I think I need some help. And then being able to allow for that and maybe admit that to another and maybe start looking for that a little bit. And even looking for that, I very much appreciate how you regularly encourage to, hey, find someone, man, how valuable it is. And even finding someone can be so difficult at times. Well,
it's scary, bro. It's not difficult. It's scary, bro.
Both. It can be very scary. Right. And then even if you're brave enough to face those fears, like, God, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to reach out. There's a lot of, it takes time. There's a lot of ambivalence and stuff and back and forth. And then finally you're like, okay, psychologytoday.com, find a therapist. Oh, here's all the local therapists in the area. Oh, good. There's their photographs. There's their little bios. Okay, I see some of the therapists who are available in my area. And you might even be brave enough to email one or call one, and then, nope, sorry, we're full. Nope, sorry, not accepting new clients. No, for whatever reasons, or, they don't maybe accept your insurance, or if you have to go that route, there's just, even to begin the journey, it can be, you can face some pretty large difficulties. Or even if you finally get into an office, you're brave enough to begin, you lucky enough to find someone, get an appointment scheduled, you finally get in there that day with all the, leading up to that, and then you don't like the person. They're just, it's just not the right fit. They rub you a little wrong way. The personality is just, you're just like, right? And that's common, man. And I've had clients, one and done, who have that experience with me. It's just not the right fit. They're looking for something. I'm not really that something they're looking for. And thank you for recognizing that. And I do, please, please continue to reach out. Please continue to look for someone. Find someone who is a more appropriate fit. There's a lot of different therapists, counselors, psychologists, whatever it is you're looking for, practitioners. There's so many different ways that people can show up in service, and it is difficult to begin that journey, and so worth it, because once you've made it through a lot of that and find someone and have that connection and start to get that regular session every other week, or even just once a month, or maybe every week, and there's a lot more available online if that's easier for folks. I just do in person. That there's so much out there, so much differences under the sun. And, if you kind of recognize deep down that it will be of benefit to you, even with the struggles of getting there, man, just one step at a time, just what's next, and just maybe keep, not a straight line, but keep inching that direction. And as things open to you, and if you can get those regular services established for yourself, it can be even life-changing, as Michael speaks to.
Yeah, and I'd like to I've tapped on this before in a previous episode, but I just want to bring it back, is, when Shannon decided to move on in his career and left the vet center, I think I went back twice. And I don't remember the gentleman's name that I spoke with after you departed, but it wasn't happening. Yeah. I didn't like it. I didn't fit. And I decided to pull the stops. And, it sucked and it was difficult, but, and this is the big but part, is in Shannon's absence during that timeline, I decided not to stop seeking change for myself. And that is what led me into the Buddhist world and the Buddhist traditions, where I found a lot of peace and a lot of just solace for me, man. It was just like, it was just so peaceful being in that time and space, reading it and understanding it and practicing meditation and doing the things that they do, which then ironically turned into, when Shannon started his own practice and I came back with him, he got to see a lot of change while he was doing his thing in me. by doing something else in the meantime. And it was not traditional therapy. I didn't see a counselor that entire time because I couldn't find a person I fit with, but I didn't stop my journey.
Thank you for this. Thank you, man. That's it. Continuing forward, because it ultimately is your journey, with or without this practitioner, or with or without that other practice, or whatever components of your journey, whether that's journaling. Oh, journaling. That makes a lot of sense, right?
There you go, man.
You know, whatever. Exercise, one of the most important movement, right? Sleep, healthy diet, all the things that go into holistic quality of life, just overall well-being, mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual, psychological health. It's so unique to each individual, and to just continue to want that, just continue to have the intention to, man, I want to just kind of keep on with my journey, keep on keeping on. What's my path? What's next? And okay, well, I just lost my therapist. He's quit the vet center. Okay, well, and I'm not quitting. I've gained a little momentum here. I'm like, ooh, look what I've discovered. What's Zen? What? Peace? What? Meditation? Ooh, this really resonates. And for you to continue, because it is each of our individual journeys, which is so much bigger than whoever along parts of the path, can, provide that companionship or assistance, in that journey.
Yeah, it's important. I know we talk a lot about, counseling and things like that, but it's important. And the reason I find it so important is because, even in my self journey while Shannon and I were apart, or even when I lived in Hawaii for that time, I still continued learning. I still continued to grow in a different practices and different things. But what I always came back to was, it's just nice to have somebody that you can come in and just talk to.
Who already knows your backstory, who already gets you to have that foundation of like, oh yeah, right.
Right. And they don't have to understand, like Shannon didn't understand my practices and what I was doing, but I didn't have to hide that, and I didn't have to feel that I couldn't share that with Shannon. I was very open about that, and where I was finding power and traction and peace in this journey. But when you're going along for so long by yourself, it's just so refreshing to come back to be able to talk to somebody that knows a little bit about you and is just there to talk to. And I tell people all the time, I say, the other thing that created this podcast was Shannon and I having many conversations about how people are so intimidated by the door that is the barrier between you and some professional help and what happens behind the door. And I told Shannon that from my perspective, and he was like, shit, dude, I forget about that. But that's a lot of stigma, is what happens when I go behind the closed door? What's going to be like? Do I have to lay down? You can put a light on me? Like, are we talking about why I didn't get enough hugs and kisses when I grew up? No, man. So a lot of this podcast too was about bringing that door down, removing the veil, letting people see behind the veil on what therapy could be, what therapy can be. And I think a lot of people appreciate our podcast because people have reached out to me and just said, hey man, like, doesn't sound so bad. It's not. I'm not ashamed. I'm okay with me now that I tell people all the time, hey, where are you going? I got counseling today, man. Well, you go to counseling? Absolutely, I do. I'll catch you later. Or if you need me, text me or call me, or I'll talk to you later. Like, I don't hide it. I'm not ashamed of it. I think it's an amazing thing. And I think that there's a lot of power in it, obviously, but to be open enough and confident enough in myself to not hide it. I don't need to hide it.
No.
I'm a proponent for it. I'm a champion.
That's what this is. That's what this is.
You know what I mean?
And you just said it a minute ago. someone to go talk to. That's basically it. You're carrying around a lot. There's professionals out there, and it doesn't have to be the perfect, finally I found the perfect fit, because therapists come and go, and,
Sure.
and there's a lot of good ones out there. There's some not, and again, it's not better or worse. We're all just different, and a lot of people seeking that are very different as well. But finding good enough, or this works, or this is a fit, and just, oh, good. Here's a place I can just unload. The very name of this podcast. I can talk about things. I can get some professional reframes, or just reflection. And I have this safe space, this confidential space where I can walk in, be on the other side of that door, and just let it out. And holy moly, what a relief it is to let it out, to just allow for myself to be seen in a very safe, compassionate way, to get some gentle guidance from time to time. That is the power in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, man. Thank you for that, Shannon.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I don't think it's time to end this episode as well, but I know we've talked about it a few times in the past about, the journey up to Terra Mandela and the impact that had, and just that whole process. So that might be coming sooner than later. I know Shannon and I've kicked that around a couple of times. It's a deep journey, but there's a lot of power in that, and I think it's a pretty interesting story for sure. Just how it led to my even going there, and then the 7 days of being by yourself with no other human interaction, and then what that looked like on the other side. So
yeah, man, there it is. Great. Listeners have been asking for. I've been getting a little bit of my feedback as well, and like, we like details. We like stories. We like actual, like the real world,
sure.
Concrete, like, tell that story with the details. We get abstract a lot in here, but when you are willing to actually tell the story, rich with the details, man, that's, like you just said, that's golden.
All right. Well, we'll put it on the calendar.
All right.
We'll just get after it, man, because that's what we do.
Yep.
All right. Well, listeners out there, thank you. I appreciate all of you guys hanging with us today and listening to Shannon and I today. Like always, we've said it a million times, 988 is out there. You can call or text them for free. Look for a local provider. Other than that, man, I wish everybody to be safe in whatever you're doing. Enjoy the time that you are doing the fun stuff that you want to do. As for me, this is Mike Seorn.
Shannon Morrow.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode.